9 coconut milk brands to avoid, and the 2 that are worth it. A chemical that disrupts hormones, a sweetener that spikes blood sugar, and a hidden sulfite that can stop your breathing. All found inside cans of coconut milk sitting in American kitchens right now. But open the wrong can, and what you're really pouring is BPA, leaching from the lining, sulfite preservatives banned from disclosure loopholes, and emulsifiers linked to gut inflammation, all dressed up as tropical health food. If this has been your go-to brand for soups, curries, or coffee creamer for the last 10 or 20 years, every spoonful has been quietly entering your bloodstream. Today, we're breaking down 9 coconut milk brands that failed safety testing, including 2 that wear the organic halo, plus the 2 brands that actually tested clean. Coming in at number 9, Goya coconut milk. Goya is one of the most recognized Hispanic food brands in American supermarkets, the pantry staple that grandmothers and grandchildren alike reach for without a second thought. That blue and yellow label has been a kitchen fixture for decades. Decades is exactly the problem. Independent consumer testing and ingredient label reviews have repeatedly flagged Goya's canned coconut milk for containing polysorbate 60, an emulsifier linked in animal studies to gut inflammation. Right next to it on the label, guar gum, a thickener known to cause digestive distress in older adults whose intestinal lining is already thinning with age. Open a can, that faint chemical aftertaste behind the coconut sweetness, that's not your imagination. That's emulsifier doing its job. The gray-white sheen on top isn't pure cream. It's separated stabilizers floating in oily water. And the can itself, historically lined with BPA, an endocrine disruptor that leaches into acidic and fatty contents like coconut milk every time the can sits on a warm pantry shelf. For families managing high blood pressure, parents on blood thinners, or anyone with IBS who relies on gut absorption to process daily medication, this combination is a quiet disaster. Polysorbate 60 inflames the lining. Guar gum slows absorption. BPA mimics estrogen and confuses your endocrine system. You bought a tropical pantry staple. You got a chemistry set. Goya knows the studies. Goya knows what BPA does. Goya keeps shipping cans because the recipe is cheap and the customers are loyal. The brand pulls in over $1 billion in revenue annually. They could reformulate tomorrow. They could pull the polysorbate and the guar gum without changing the price by a single cent. They choose not to because the customers don't read past the label and the loyalty runs 3 generations deep. Loyalty is the most expensive ingredient in that can. The label hasn't changed in 20 years. The science has. 3 generations of grandmothers, mothers, and daughters cooking out of the same blue and yellow can, and 3 generations of cumulative exposure showing up now in thyroid panels and gut issues that doctors call age-related. They aren't age-related. They're brand-related. If a brand this familiar can hide problem ingredients on a single label, what about the brand that calls itself the authentic one? At number 8, Thai Kitchen Coconut Milk, the clean white can with the blue script. The brand sold at Walmart, Kroger, and Target as the simple, authentic option for home curries and tom kha soup. Thai Kitchen is owned by McCormick, the spice giant whose own products have been flagged for heavy metal contamination. And the standard, non-organic version of Thai Kitchen contains guar gum and is packed in cans not certified BPA-free. But the bigger problem is what FDA import alerts have repeatedly flagged on Thai coconut imports: sulfite residues used as preservatives during processing, sulfites that don't appear on the label, sulfites that hit your bloodstream the moment that curry hits your tongue. Pour the can into a hot pan. That sharp, acrid edge under the coconut aroma, that's sulfur dioxide off-gassing. The sting at the back of your throat after a few bites of coconut soup, that's a sulfite reaction. Anyone with asthma, COPD, or sulfite sensitivity, conditions that grow more common with every decade past 50, can experience worsened breathing within minutes of consumption. For families cooking with Thai Kitchen weekly, or anyone on ACE inhibitors for blood pressure, sulfites can trigger an unexpected drop in blood pressure that mimics a fainting episode. The FDA requires sulfite disclosure when levels exceed 10 parts per million. The import alerts say Thai coconut shipments routinely test above that. McCormick's response? Silence. They have the lab data. They have the import flags. They keep the supply chain anyway because consumer trust runs on inertia, and inertia is cheaper than reform. Authentic doesn't mean clean. Authentic just means the same supply chain as everyone else. The blue script, the Thai flag imagery, The simple ingredient promise, none of it survives the lab report. The grandmother who's been making the same curry for 40 years has been breathing the same sulfite cloud the whole time, and her lungs at 75 aren't what they were at 35. So if Thai Kitchen is hiding undisclosed preservatives, surely the slim, trendy can next to it on the shelf is doing better. Don't bet on it. Now at number 7, a taste of Thai coconut milk. Sold in those slim, distinctive cans at major grocery chains, A Taste of Thai positions itself as a convenient, restaurant-quality option for the home cook who wants Bangkok flavor in 20 minutes. The marketing leans heavily on premium positioning. The lab analysis tells a different story. Independent analyses of imported Thai coconut products have detected traces of inorganic phosphate additives, compounds added during processing to extend shelf life and stabilize texture. The brand's light version makes it worse, using water and stabilizers to thin the product, which dilutes the medium-chain fats that give coconut milk its only nutritional value in the first place. You're paying for coconut. You're getting phosphate water. Open the slim can. That thin, watery pour with chunks of separated cream, that's not freshness. That's filler. The flat, almost soapy mouthfeel after the coconut taste fades, that's phosphate residue coating your tongue. For families managing chronic kidney disease, a condition affecting nearly 40% of Americans over 65, added inorganic phosphates accelerate bone loss and vascular calcification. The FDA has issued warnings about hidden phosphates in processed foods, specifically because aging kidneys cannot filter them efficiently. They build up in arteries. They pull calcium out of bone. They harden blood vessels in people who already take statins to keep them flexible. $2 cheaper than the premium brand. 20 years off your kidneys. The label says taste of Thai. The chemistry says taste of phosphate. And here's the kicker. The light version, marketed to people watching their weight or cholesterol, is actually worse. More water, more stabilizers, less of the lauric acid that supports immune function past 50. You bought light to be healthier. You got diluted poison instead. The slim can format itself is a trick. It looks premium next to the squat industrial cans. It costs the same as the bigger competitors. The content's way less. You're paying per can, not per ounce. And the brand counts on that small difference adding up across millions of pantry purchases. Speaking of betrayal at scale, the next brand was pulled from Costco shelves after a scandal that made international headlines. And it's still being sold elsewhere. Number 6. Chowco coconut milk. The orange and white can with the smiling coconut, one of the largest selling coconut milk brands in U.S. Asian markets, and a former Costco staple, prized by home cooks for its thick, almost ice cream-like texture. That texture comes at a cost most shoppers never imagined. In 2021, Costco, Wegmans, and Stop & Shop pulled Chowco from shelves after PETA and the Thai government confirmed the use of forced monkey labor in coconut harvesting. Chained pigtail macaques, taken from their mothers as infants, forced to climb trees and toss coconuts down to handlers for 16 hours a day. The supply chain that filled those cans was built on animal cruelty, so severe that mainstream retailers walked away. But the brand didn't disappear. It just moved to smaller stores. And the bigger danger isn't even the ethics. It's the chemistry. Chowco's cans have tested positive for BPA leaching, an endocrine disruptor associated with insulin resistance and thyroid dysfunction in adults over 50. BPA mimics estrogen in the body. It binds to hormone receptors. It throws blood sugar regulation off in people who are already pre-diabetic. Open a can of Chowco, that heavy, almost greasy cream that clings to the spoon. That's not quality fat. That's coconut soaked in BPA migration for the months it sat in a warehouse. The tinny aftertaste at the back of the throat, that's the can lining dissolving into your dinner. Sanitation reports from Chowco's parent company, Teppadong Porn, have flagged repeated issues with processing facility hygiene, mold contamination, and water quality. For families with diabetic relatives, anyone on thyroid medication, or households where curry is a weekly ritual, that BPA exposure is cumulative. It doesn't leave, it builds. The store is closed. The poison didn't. Pulled from Costco, still sitting in Asian grocery aisles. Still on Amazon Prime, the smiling coconut on the label has nothing to smile about. Now, if a canned brand can hide forced labor and BPA, surely the carton beverages in the dairy aisle are safer. Wait until you see what Silk is really pouring into your morning coffee. At number 5, Silk Coconut Milk, the beverage in the half-gallon carton. Silk markets its coconut milk as the heart-healthy, low-calorie dairy alternative perfect for cereal, coffee, and smoothies. And it sits in nearly every American grocery store dairy aisle. The carton screams plant-based. The ingredient panel screams chemistry lab. Silk coconut milk contains less than 2% actual coconut cream, less than 2%. The rest is filtered water, gellan gum, locust bean gum, and, in older formulations, carrageenan, the seaweed-derived thickener that peer-reviewed studies have linked to intestinal inflammation. The flavored varieties, vanilla, chocolate, sweetened original, contain added sugars that can hit 8 to 14 grams per cup. That's more sugar in your morning coffee creamer than in a chocolate chip cookie. Plus, synthetic vitamin D2 instead of the more bioavailable D3 your body actually absorbs efficiently. If you drink coconut milk in your coffee every single day, that's gellan gum and added sugar building up in your system with every sip. For anyone managing type 2 diabetes, the sugar load alone can sabotage A1C readings. And the carrageenan has been linked in published research to interference with metformin absorption, the very medication you take to control blood sugar, blocked by the creamer you thought was the healthy choice. Pour Silk into hot coffee. Watch it curdle and separate around the edges. That's gellan gum failing under heat. The chalky aftertaste, that's locust bean gum coating your tongue. The slight metallic edge, that's the synthetic vitamin solution. 2% coconut, 98% filler. $7 a carton, sold to people who switched away from dairy because they thought they were doing something better. You switched to this brand because it felt safer. It isn't. If this is what's in your coffee tomorrow morning, that's diabetes risk poured into a mug labeled wellness. If it helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these exposés. The next brand hides behind a Whole Foods price tag and an even bigger lie. Number 4, So Delicious Coconut Milk. The brand wellness influencers post on Instagram. The carton stocked at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and every premium grocer charging premium prices. So Delicious markets itself as the clean, plant-based option for the health-conscious shopper. The ingredient panel is anything but clean. So Delicious coconut milk beverages contain gellan gum, locust bean gum, and the FDA's most exploited loophole, natural flavors, an undefined category that can legally hide MSG derivatives, glutamate compounds, and processed sodium without ever appearing on the label. Several flavored varieties contain more added sugar per cup than a can of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has 26 grams in a serving. Some So Delicious flavored varieties hit 28. That's not plant-based wellness. That's soda in disguise with a coconut tree on the box. Open the carton. That artificial sweet smell that hits you before you even pour, that's natural flavoring at work. The slick, almost silicone texture on your lips after a sip, that's gellan gum and locust bean gum binding to mucous membranes. The lingering thirst after drinking it, that's hidden sodium pulling water out of your cells. For families managing high blood pressure or prediabetes, the hidden sodium in natural flavors can spike systolic readings within hours, and the sugar load can sabotage A1C management for months. You're paying $6 for a carton that's harming the exact conditions you're trying to manage. The wellness influencers don't read the labels. The shoppers trust the influencers. The brand collects the markup. The label says delicious. The lab says diabetic. Drop a comment if So Delicious is in your fridge right now. Let's see how many of us have been pouring soda into our smoothies. Now, if a wellness brand can hide soda-level sugar behind a clean image, what does that mean for the brand that says it's literally just coconut and water? Spoiler, That brand exists. It's just not native forest. Let me explain. Number 3, native forest coconut milk. The eco-friendly packaging, the earth tone label, the brand sold at Whole Foods and natural grocers, marketed to health-minded shoppers who read labels and pay extra for purity. Native Forest does promote BPA-free cans, and that part is true. What they don't advertise is what replaced the BPA. Independent testing by the Clean Label Project found measurable levels of bisphenol S, BPS, in native forest cans. BPS is the BPA replacement now linked in published research to similar hormonal disruption, similar endocrine effects, similar concerns about insulin resistance and thyroid function. The industry swapped one bisphenol for another and called it progress. The product also contains guar gum, which interferes with thyroid medication absorption, particularly levothyroxine, the most prescribed thyroid drug in America. Open a can of Native Forest Standard. The cream is whiter, the texture cleaner than the others, and that's how the marketing earns your trust. But run a lab test on the lining, and the BPS shows up. Take your levothyroxine in the morning, eat coconut curry at lunch, and the guar gum can reduce drug effectiveness by up to 30% for that dose. For anyone managing hypothyroidism, that's the difference between a controlled condition and a fatigued, foggy afternoon. For anyone on blood pressure medication taken with food, guar gum slows absorption enough to matter. The brand that sold itself as the answer to BPA contamination is now part of the problem, just with a quieter chemical name. Eco-friendly packaging, endocrine-disrupting interior, $6 a can. The label says simple. The science says swapped. Native Forest built its entire reputation on being the alternative to industrial coconut milk. Turns out alternative just means a different bisphenol with a nicer logo. The shoppers who pay the premium are the same shoppers most likely to be on thyroid medication, the same demographic most likely to read every word on the label. They read everything except the can lining, because the can lining isn't on the label. It's hiding in a chemical disclosure document buried on a corporate website most customers will never see. The next brand has a halo even bigger than Whole Foods and the same supplier. At number 2, the 365 by Whole Foods coconut milk, the Whole Foods house brand. The store whose name itself implies clean ingredients, transparent sourcing, and quality you can't find at a regular grocer. The 365 line carries that halo at a lower price point, and millions of shoppers trust it because the Whole Foods logo means safe. The Whole Foods logo means co-packed by the same factories that make the brands you've already heard about. The 365 coconut milk is co-packed by third-party manufacturers in Thailand. The same FDA import alerts that flagged Thai Kitchen for sulfite residues apply to 365. The same processing facilities, the same supply chain. The 365 regular non-organic version contains guar gum and clocks in at roughly 60% coconut content. Compare that to the higher quality brands at 80% or more, and you're paying for water and stabilizer dressed up in a Whole Foods uniform. Open a can of 365 regular. The cream is thinner. It separates faster. The coconut flavor fades within seconds because there's not much coconut to begin with. That watery pour, that's the 60% showing. The neutral, almost bland finish, that's the absence of lauric acid, the medium-chain fat that supports immune function in adults over 50. You came to Whole Foods to escape industrial food. The can in your cart was made on the same line. For people paying premium prices because Whole Foods feels like the safer store, the savings on the 365 brand cost you the actual nutritional benefit you came for. For families relying on coconut milk for the medium-chain triglycerides that support brain function and stable energy, you're getting flavored water with a halo. Same factory, different label, higher trust, same fillers. Whole Foods knows the supplier. Whole Foods sells it anyway. The biggest grocery store name in clean eating quietly stocked the same compromised product as the budget brands. The halo is a sticker. The contents are not. And the brand at number 1 is the one that calls itself customer favorite, the one home cooks defend in recipe blogs, the one that hides a sulfite the FDA actually requires to be disclosed. And now, at number 1, Trader Joe's coconut cream. the cult favorite, the budget pick, the can recipe bloggers swear by for whipped coconut cream, dairy-free desserts, and rich curries on a Wednesday night. Trader Joe's brand reputation is built on quirky packaging, rock-bottom prices, and the comforting feeling that you're in on a secret the big chains don't know. Here's the secret. The coconut cream contains potassium metabisulfite as a preservative. Potassium metabisulfite is a sulfite. The FDA requires sulfites to be disclosed on labels because they can cause severe, sometimes life-threatening reactions, hives, throat tightening, asthma attacks, anaphylaxis. Sulfite sensitivity grows more common with age. By 60, an estimated 1 in 10 adults reacts to sulfites in some way, often without knowing the cause. And the cans, despite Trader Joe's clean image and friendly handwritten signs, are not certified BPA-free. Open a can. That sharp chemical bite under the coconut, that's the metabisulfite. The slight throat scratch after a spoonful, that's a low-grade sulfite reaction your body is starting to register. The headache, an hour later, that's the cumulative effect. For anyone on corticosteroid medications for arthritis, or COPD, two of the most common conditions in adults over 50, sulfites can trigger dangerous interactions, blunting medication effectiveness, or worsening respiratory symptoms within hours. For anyone with adult-onset asthma, this can mean a trip to urgent care. The label says coconut cream. The fine print says potassium metabisulfite. The fan blogs say budget miracle. The reaction in your body says otherwise. Trader Joe's earns billions in revenue each year. They could source clean coconut cream. They could test for sulfites. They could line their cans with safer materials. They don't, because the customers don't read the fine print, and the price stays low, and the recipe blogs keep linking. $3 a can. That's what your respiratory system is worth to them. The smiling label, the cult following, the sulfite hiding in plain sight. Most coconut milk on shelves is broken, but two brands actually got it right. Safe pick number 1, Native Forest Organic Simple Coconut Milk. Yes, the same parent company. No, not the same product. Native Forest's separate Simple line is the brand's answer to its own contamination problem, and the formula actually delivers. The ingredient list reads organic coconut, water. That's it. No guar gum, no polysorbate, no locust bean, no carrageenan, no natural flavors hiding sodium. The cans are documented as both BPA-free and BPS-free, and the manufacturer publishes third-party test results to prove it. The kind of transparency that the rest of this list refuses to offer. The product is USDA organic certified and non-GMO project verified, which means the coconuts themselves are grown without the synthetic pesticides that contaminate non-organic Thai supply chains. Open a can. The cream is thick, almost solid at room temperature, the way real coconut cream behaves before it's been cut with stabilizers. The aroma is pure coconut. No chemical edge, no sulfur sting at the back of the throat. Pour it into hot soup and it melts smoothly. No curdling, no separation, no foam of failed gums. The flavor is rich and clean, with a long finish, the lauric acid carrying through with every spoonful. For anyone on levothyroxine, the absence of guar gum means your morning thyroid medication actually absorbs the way it should. For families managing blood pressure or insulin resistance, the absence of BPA and BPS means no endocrine disruption from the can lining. The medium-chain triglycerides support brain function and steady energy in adults past 50 without spiking blood sugar or sabotaging prescriptions. About $4 to $5 a can, $1 more than the contaminated brands. A small premium for an honest product. Safe pick number 2, Aroy-D pure coconut milk in the Tetra Pak carton. The genius move. Skip the can entirely. Aroy-D sells its pure coconut milk in shelf-stable cartons rather than cans, which eliminates the BPA and BPS contamination problem at the source. No metal lining, no bisphenol leaching, no tinny aftertaste creeping into your curry. The ingredient list is exactly 2 items: coconut extract and water. No gums, no stabilizers, no preservatives, no sulfite, sulfites, no carrageenan, no natural flavors. Lab analyses consistently show Aroy-D delivering one of the highest pure coconut concentrations of any mass-market brand sold in the United States, often around 85% coconut content, compared to the 60% found in 365 and the diluted light versions of A Taste of Thai. The brand is widely available at H-Mart, Asian grocers, and Amazon, and the smaller individual cartons mean you can use exactly what a recipe calls for and refrigerate the rest without worrying about a half-empty can rusting in the fridge. Open a carton, pour it into a glass. The cream coats the inside slowly, naturally, with the heavy body of real coconut. The aroma is fresh and tropical. No chemical sting, no preservative bite. Heat it in a pan and it emulsifies smoothly into curry without breaking, the way coconut milk has done in Southeast Asian kitchens for centuries, before the gum and sulfite era. For anyone with sulfite sensitivity that worsens with age, Aroy-D delivers 0 sulfites. For anyone on corticosteroids, blood pressure medication, or thyroid drugs, no guar gum, no carrageenan, no interference. The natural lauric acid supports cardiovascular and immune health without the additive load that burdens aging kidneys. About $3 to $4 per carton, cheaper than the contaminated brands. 9 brands exposed, 2 brands worth keeping. Check your pantry tonight. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.